Okay.
So your grandma knows you got a tattoo.
I was over at my grandma's house. She had just gotten her gallbladder removed, like the day before. And so all of her grandchildren were in town. Mm-hmm. So we all went over and we were hanging out with grandma and the family and a family friend named Dave. And so I'd come from work. I took my jacket off, because I have to wear like tie, jacket.
Yeah, because you're a banker now, bro. You're in the professional world.
To look professional and look all nice all the time.
Dude, I wear a suit and tie too. Gosh. I'm right there with you.
I love it, but it can be just annoying at times. But I threw on a different shirt. Took on my jacket. I just threw on a different shirt.
Yeah.
And I have shirts that if I sit in a certain way, the sleeves ride up, and then you can see.
Oh yeah.
Anyone who can see
the tattattoo is definitely
the
exposed.
Is definitely showing. Now I've had it for.
I know, because you got it last year, didn't you?
I got it last year.
Yeah.
I got
like right in the fall.
Yeah.
Right before Halloween, I want to say.
Yes. Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I just happened because there are times I just sit back and put my head between put my hand behind my head. It's just comfy, especially at grandma's house. And so I did it, and grandma's sitting across from me. She just goes, "Is that another tattoo?" And I go, "Oh, Frank."
Yeah.
And I go, "Yeah."
That's how it all starts too.
But here's the best part, right? She goes, "Why didn't you tell anyone?" I was like, So she's like, "Well, what does it mean?" And I went through it's Tharseo, it's from John 16:3. Yeah, all that stuff, right? And she was, "Why didn't you tell anyone?" I was like, and then all of a sudden, just Grandpa's always quiet. When anyone's meeting, he's very quiet. Grandma's the life of the party, but Grandpa's just a he just goes, "Oh, I knew," and Dad just sound off behind him and goes, "Oh, I knew." And she just goes, "How the heck does everybody know before me?" She goes off on this whole thing, and she's just she's fake mad. She really wasn't mad about it, but
it's funny how they're always fake mad.
They're always fake mad at first, but she was poking fun. She's like, maybe if you get another tattoo, you might tell me in about a year or two. And I was like, I said, "Well, Grandma, remember, I'm getting a tattoo for when you die." She's like, "Oh, don't tell me that."
Bro, it was like that with me every time I got a piece. Like I would get a piece. And I'll get another piece, and then a couple years later, I'll get another piece.
It's just slowly build a collection, man.
And then I started collecting a sleeve, and then next thing you know, my grandparents are at my house. They're like, "Is that makeup? What are you wearing on your arm?"
It's like, "Can you take that off?" And it's like, "No, it's permanent."
It's permanent.
Why would you do that to yourself? By the way, let's reiterate the fact that they're like, our bodies are temples for the Lord. It's part of our worship, right? Have you ever been to the Sistine Chapel? Have you ever seen pictures?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the inside of most Catholic churches? There's art
everywhere. Yeah. Art.
I'm just saying. I'm just pointing for those who can't see it.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing at my bicep, inner bicep, because.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying this back. But you're more of this. You're the Sistine Chapel compared to me. So.
Yeah, I'm all tatted up. But it just came with me being. Obsessed with Japanese culture at the time, and I still do love Japanese culture. I love their theology, I love their culture, and I love their art. And so when I saw my first koi fish tattoo, I saw it.
You were sold.
I was like, dude, I want that. And then obviously the tattoo artist is like, well, I can make a rendition of that because I'm not going to copy someone else's stuff.
No, that's insulting.
That's insulting to the artist. So I was like, yeah, if you could do something like that, then cool. Then I got my first koi fish, and then from there it was just kind of spilled over time. So yeah, man. But we're here.
Hey, buddy,
we're here. Doing, Kingdom Talks. Back with Tyler. If those who don't recognize that voice
you've already lost half your viewership.
Nah, we're good, and it's been a nice transition because I don't know if. Because I forgot to tell you that I have a set schedule now. For the last couple of episodes, I've been taking the last Monday off because Mondays we record. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking the last Monday off of the month just so I can reset.
No, it's smart. Yeah.
And decompress a little bit, and then just pump out more content.
It doesn't, man. Even God needed the rest.
Yeah, man. I mean, so I'm utilizing
all
that.
the example of a creator.
So for the last couple episodes or the last couple months, I've been using that Monday to kind of just rest and just chill, and it's been working. It's been allowing me to just reset and charge my battery, and gung ho. And come out with content for you viewers and listeners out there that are the faithful followers.
Give yourselves a round of applause.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. But yeah, and so it felt weird this month for some reason because obviously I took the last Monday off, and I'm like, man, it feels like I haven't done the show in a while, so I was kind of missing it, man. And it was my birthday weekend, the weekend prior to that. And shout out to all you guys that sent your wishes on social media. Thank you guys for wishing me a happy birthday. It was March 20th, by the way, on a Sunday.
Put it in your calendars for next year.
Yeah, put it in the calendar for next year. I will be expecting donations. No, I'm kidding. But it was cool. It was cool. I hung out with friends and family. I made a whole weekend out of it. My girlfriend took me out and spoiled me a little bit. So shouts to Jazz. Love you, baby. Man. Love you, love you, love you. So it was cool. It was cool. And it was good to see you in church on Sunday. I mean, I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time with family because they've been making a big stink about not seeing me.
Yeah. My brother at some point is like, this is your intervention. You need to come hang out more. Yeah, my family does that too.
I bit the bullet. I'm like, I'm gonna spend a few weeks with my family.
Yeah.
And I haven't, and it's been good, and they've been happy because,
Yeah.
It's really about family, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, you guys are still my family.
Yeah.
But yeah,
my immediate family sometimes be like, we don't see you enough anymore. And so I get a little bit convicted. I'm like, you know what? I got to set time for my mom and dad because they're not going to be here forever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
try to set time.
Not to get too morbid, but they're naturally they're going to go before I transition.
Hopefully.
God willing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta dedicate some time even for my grandma and grandpa because my grandma just turned 87 or 88. She's up there, dude.
Yeah,
and she has a little bit of medical things here and there, nothing too crazy. So I gotta also dedicate some time for my grandma because she lives out in Royal Palm, which is literally a 13-minute drive from where I'm at. So I have no excuses. So I am being more intentional with visiting my grandparents. I actually visited my grandparents a few weeks ago, and I just kind of stopped by and loved on them and caught up with them, and they always have stories to tell because I know they've been here on earth for so long.
How is it that I feel like I'm busy all the time, and yet when I see my grandparents, I always have like 1,000,001 stories.
Oh my gosh!
It's just yesterday I have 18 new stories. It's like
and my grandpa loves to flashback, and he'll talk about what he would do when he was in his 30s and in his 40s.
Yeah.
Like when I was 45, yada, yada, yada. He used to be a truck driver, and he used to do over state, cross county lines types of hauls that he would do. And he would have stories on his road trips that he would take. So yeah, he does have plenty of stories to tell. But anyway, man, episode 34. Let's go. Episode 34, bro.
34, bro. That's
crazy. It's insane. And it's gonna
seem like yesterday.
I know, bro.
Just episode 1.
Episode 1 in your house, in your living room.
In my house, in my living room, sipping on some of the strong stuff.
Yeah, sipping on some happy juice. Man, how how the show's grown. How our friendship has grown too, man. That
was solid.
Yeah. So it's been a journey, man, and I remember I shared this with Pedro not too long ago, and Sean too, Pastor Sean. Shouts to Sean. I remember having this dream about ministry and the podcast, and I'm like, why did I have that dream? And then I had to really meditate on that and pray about it, and I felt like the Lord was telling me that Kingdom Talks isn't a show; it's a ministry I gave you. So treat it as such. Yeah. And I'm like, and it's funny how that dream came about when I was in doubt. When I didn't want to go anymore. God, I don't see me influencing anything. I don't see me doing this. I don't see me. It was always me. And God's looking at me like, that's right. It's not about you. So you are right. And I'm like, oh, dang. I was like, okay,
Ooh,
God.
That's a self-burn. Okay.
I know, yeah. I was like, okay, God, I see what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're throwing. So,
touche, God, touche.
Yeah, so yeah, it was definitely a moment of clarity for me. And God just kind of told me, he's like, this is the ministry I gave you. Honor it, respect it, and don't look at the numbers, don't look at the analytics. And as much as it's hard for me not to look at the analytics, because I get like emails from
here's your weekly update.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like my weekly update on how my Spotify's doing, how it's doing on Apple iTunes, and how it's doing on YouTube, and I'm just like, okay, God, I'm trying not to really dive into the analytics of it all. But you know what the cool part about it is like every time there is engagement, it's always a prayer request, and it's always a thank you. Like, yo, thank you for talking about mental health with your therapist. Thank you for addressing these issues with Tyler in that one episode. Thank you for bringing on Franklin and talking about worship. I had no idea that worship was this, that, and this. And so those are like the moments where I kind of like don't want to take for granted, you know?
No.
Like I don't want to take those moments for granted because I want to like point the finger at Jesus and be like, yo, it was literally, yeah, he used me as a vessel and I was obedient, and through my obedience I was able to speak what God wanted to convey in me and through me. So praise God for that. So yeah, it's been a great journey, and I want to just keep going and keep talking to you guys, keep trying to make a difference in someone's life. I mean, if I could just initiate dialogue for anybody that's listening, and encourage that one person to have it, some type of dialogue that you wouldn't have it in a church environment, by all means do it, because that's where change comes, and that's where, you know, people perspectives on certain topics that maybe is not covered at a church or on a platform, you may be able to learn something new and be able to even change someone's life. You just never know. So that being said, other than that, I saw Morbius.
Okay.
It was good. It was a good.
I've heard very mixed things.
Yeah, it was actually good. It didn't really disappoint for me. My mic's falling here. But it really didn't disappoint. Oh yeah, my mic's falling. But it didn't disappoint at all because I didn't have like set expectations. Like I didn't really have much expectations.
As much as it was a Marvel movie, you weren't expecting a Marvel movie.
Right. Even though this is Sony.
It's Sony using a Marvel character.
Yeah, Sony.
So it's like Spider-Man.
It's like a Spider-Man deal. Like the.
You're struggling with.
Yeah, I know. Like, what the heck?
Yo, you know how when you clip stuff on TikTok, you should clip the.
Yeah, like, oh, Javi's struggling with his mic. There you go.
But anyways, so while you handle that, so when I was at church yesterday, we ran into each other.
We sure did.
And we started up a conversation, and you're like, "Yo, it'd be great to have you back on the podcast." I'm like, "Yo, I would love to come back." And he's like, "Do you have any ideas?" And I was like, "Oh, actually, because I've been in a deep thought process with a number of issues, and there's been a lot of things with the church lately. A lot of things that have come out, a lot of things that it's being exposed and things like that. Which I'm gonna be honest, like it really kind of brought me to tears the other night, because I was hearing a lot of these stories, and I was, you know, like, whether it's because I don't want to say like bring these up, but it's like, you know, the stuff with Hillsong, things that have come out about Christianity today, like, I mean, all these terrible things, and then I'm like I'm just crying because, yo, like, the bride of Christ is like being heard from within. And I, like, here's the thing, I really do. As much as I can be critical of the church at times, absolutely 100%, I'm very critical, but that's just because I truly deeply care about the bride of Christ. I deeply care about the church. I deeply care about the people within the church.
Yeah.
Because the people are the church, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's not, you know, church isn't supposed to be this place where you go to die. It's supposed to be where you find life in Christ. And
yeah, because I don't think you're supposed to endure church. I think you're supposed to enjoy church.
And so, with all this, I mean, let's be honest, like all this new church that's coming out, it honestly breaks my heart because I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been there. I've been hurt by the church. I've had to go through it, and I've been reading and I've been doing a really deep dive into the book of Acts, looking at the looking at the original church.
Yeah.
Seeing that, really breaking it down, like going beyond just the things that I thought I knew or the things that I learned about in church. I'm going deep in. I mean, so much so, like I'm reading a book where the first part is like 1,800 pages. That's part one. And it's a 3-part book.
Wow.
It's one book, but then I'm also reading this other book that talks about the realms of God, both seen and unseen. As we are here on earth and we can see, we can feel, but of course, we've talked about in this podcast before.
Yeah.
Spiritual warfare. Like there is an unseen realm.
Yeah.
That we currently are not privy to.
Right.
That we don't have this, and I mean, people. Unfortunately, there are many churchgoers who deny like even this other type of realm that does like exist in the first place.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but does heaven? You believe in heaven, right? Yeah. Okay, well then you believe in a different realm. Can you see heaven? Can you touch heaven? No, you can't. Mm-hmm. Right? Can you see hell? Can you touch hell? No. That's in a different realm than ours.
Yeah.
And people do not understand how closely our physical realm is to the spiritual realm. And I believe there's been a lot of that touching back and forth, especially lately, because God uses both what happens in the spiritual realm and in the physical realm to advance his kingdom.
Yeah.
And as much as right now as it looks like the kingdom is being hurt from within, and I do believe there is a lot of hurt coming from within.
Yeah, for sure.
There is. I mean, anyone who kind of denies it's kind of like, are you paying attention?
Yeah, and I believe that's also due to if we're on that same vein on that spiritual topic, like I feel that you just said that God uses all that to expand his kingdom to do all these things, right? But the opposition, which is Satan and his minions, they do the total opposite. They'll do anything and everything to get into the cracks of an imperfect church, because we're all imperfect and it's all ran by imperfect people, to create division. And that's why all these churches sometimes fail. Startup churches fail the first 6 months.
Most churches that start don't go beyond 8 months.
They don't go beyond 8 months. And then these other churches who've been in communities for decades are now coming out and having, issues with infidelity with their pastors, issues with drug abuse with their pastors. When I had Doug here a couple of episodes back, we touched on Billy Graham's grandson, who got involved in some mess and had to step down a few years back, and now he's just now resurfacing again, and he started up a church here in the state of Florida, and now he's just beginning to start a church and beginning to have traction and trying to have his redemption story told, because that's his story. And who are we to say that he can never start a church because he had some type of drama or some type of...
But unfortunately, this is me being critical again.
Yeah.
I'll admit it, this is me being critical. But anyone who kind of like doesn't accept that, and I feel like in a way kind of doesn't know the own culture that they're in, we unfortunately live, there is a culture, especially more so in the evangelical realm. Yeah. It's in every type of church. I'm not just trying to call it just anyone who's evangelical. Yeah. No. Right. Like it just happens in the Catholic Church, the Methodist, Baptist, all of them. The Methodists are splitting up. We'll come back to that.
I did hear about that. Yeah.
Very interesting.
I actually heard a podcast about a Methodist, a former Methodist, talking about that, but
We'll touch on
Yeah.
it. We can go back and touch on that.
Touch on it, yeah.
No, different. That's a whole different episode.
Yeah, for sure.
You can look it up online, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of thoughts. But to have like a culture in which like these people, there's a lot of people like put on pedestals, and then when those pedestals crumble beneath those people's feet because we put so much weight. I mean, like it's. I almost feel like we put so much of like weight, whether it's like we lift them up, whatever. Like we throw this into, and it's like they crumble underneath the pressure, and they crumble. And I'm not trying to speak for anybody or into any situation or call it, but it's like that's just kind of what it seems like. And then like when they crumble, we're just like, oh, you know what? You weren't who I thought you were, so you're nothing to me. Yeah. You can never come back. You like. Right. I mean, I hear all the time. It's like, oh, they'll never be a pastor again. Yeah. They'll never be a pastor again. Like especially when it comes to like infidelity in the church. Yeah. Like especially that. Yeah. But I mean, even with spiritual abuse. Yeah. All of like abuse of power. Yeah. Like when especially when the bigger people they fall and they fall hard. Yeah, they do. And I'm gonna be honest. I was always the first one to criticize them. Yeah, me too. 100%. 100%. It's human nature to do so. 100%. And I think it's because we are held, us as Christians, especially those who have a platform and they have a degree and they're anointed and they call themselves a pastor or a bishop or what have you, they are the ones that are more scrutinized when they fall because they're the ones that have the bigger lens on them. Yeah. And anything they do is amplified times a million. Yeah. If I fall, I may be asked to step down from leadership. And I may be also, and in some instances, depending on the church, you may be asked to not serve anymore. Yes. And to not lead anymore and not to be on staff anymore. So it's all depending on like where you stand in the, I hate to say it, but pecking order of church culture and church politics. Because essentially there is a thing called church politics. I mean, we have to just call it what it is. You know what I'm saying? When a pastor or a youth pastor or a lead pastor or an associate pastor or any pastor has that type of a fall, especially in mega churches, the internet will go on a frenzy. It's done. The internet will go on a frenzy. And that's where I kind of. And that actually causes division, by the way. That does. And here's the thing. We have honestly, we have no one but ourselves to blame. Yeah. Like, we do. Like, because shame on you Christian bloggers talking crap about the people that do fall just so you can get clicks and likes on your blogs. That's not cool. But here's the thing. Like, but there's also... I challenge you to be objective. How about that? But I also know that there are plenty of people out there who look at it through an objective lens. Look at it through an objective lens and say, why wasn't these abuses or why wasn't this seen earlier? Yeah. Like they were like all the signs were there. Yeah. The culture like cultivated. Yeah. This type of response or whatever may happen. But I mean, I don't want to sit here and say, oh, like, yes, like, do I think the culture was broken from the beginning? There's some weight there. Yeah. There is some weight there. But I'd rather not focus on that. I don't want to focus like whoever the pastor is, it's like their redemption story is just beginning. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like the whole Bible is the redemption story of humanity. Yeah, for sure. Why aren't we embracing that when it comes to our fallen brothers and sisters? Yeah. Why aren't we more embracing that? Because look, I'm gonna be honest. Like there were places where I'm like, yo, I don't like this pastor because he did this, and I always forgot. It's like, yo, why am I pointing out the sins of someone else? Yeah. When Jesus himself wouldn't do that for someone who got caught in the middle of it. Yeah. And he's even caught me in the middle of it. Yeah. Why am I the first one to criticize? And it's like when people are like, yo, like I'm gonna pray for this person. Yeah. I hope that it's like, look, can they go back in the ministry? That's for God to determine. That's my opinion. Yeah, but... no, it is. It absolutely is. And like, here's the thing. Like, in our human hearts, like, yo, that person can never be trusted again. Do I think there's a lot of trust broken? Yes, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Listen, there's a lot of church hurt coming out, and oh my gosh, some crazy stories.
Yeah.
You have, because you have like that documentary that came out recently.
Yeah.
You have, news that the church, the full-on churches are splitting from like bigger organizations because they don't want to be associated with them.
Right.
You have so many of these, but it's like, yeah, this one pastor had this one failing, and it's in his thing. It's as much as it can be just one person.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we do have to, in a way, point to the culture that they came from.
Right.
But as much as as much as we can continue to talk about that for the rest of our lives,
yeah,
I now kind of more have been feeling like we need to focus more on the redemptive story.
Absolutely.
Right? Because we ourselves are the images of God.
Of God,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. More specifically, we're the imagers.
Mm-hmm.
God created us to not just bear His image, is we are His image.
Right.
And to be His imagers, like, it's really funny because like I was reading this book.
Mm-hmm.
So good. So the image is not the ability we have, but it's a status.
Yeah.
And we are God's representatives here on earth, and to be human, to experience life,
Right.
to go through the ups and downs of life, to experience all these things, to succeed, to fail, to do this, to that, is to be the image of God.
Right.
Like we were created to experience that.
Right.
And to really kind of look around at the current climate of the church.
Yeah.
The church is being so influenced by the unseen, like, yes, by our current like culture, like where we are, like look at the news. There's so much division.
Yeah.
Here in Florida is
a lot of division.
Oh my gosh!
And globally, there's division in Europe right now.
You got Ukraine. There's all this craziness, and I can't help but like feel like we've been waiting for this. We've been experiencing this for a while. Where it's like a lot of people who I've talked to, it's like, yo, like something's gonna happen in the church. Something's gonna happen in the church. Something's gonna happen in the church. It's like there is going to be a resurgence, a revival, something that comes back around that we are not ready for, and it is coming. And honestly, just kind of like how a lot of people say, oh, like things are going to change now for the U.S. or whatever. It's like things are coming for the church that we are not ready for. Yeah,
and that's on the macro level.
Yes,
and I feel like on the micro level, however, like in these pockets, right? Like there is division, like you and I were talking about on Sunday, and it's caused by a lot of what influences the church, and sometimes where the church culture is not being the influencer, is being the influencee. Correct. Because a lot of American culture, a lot of first world culture, a lot of pop culture is bleeding into these non-denominational churches like a Hillsong, like a Elevation, like a Life Church, like a Christ Fellowship. All these churches are being influenced by pop culture, and that's why you get a lot of rifts in leadership and on platforms and in ministries and on movements. And then you hear about these things being plastered on social media saying, oh, this person did this and fell and is no longer welcome and then got fired and yada yada yada. When me and Doug were doing the episode about infidelity within the church, we brought up Carl Lentz, and not to bash his name and not to drag his name in the mud, because his name has already been dragged in the mud. It wasn't even fair.
There's nothing else that we're going to add.
There's nothing else
to anything of that story.
We just really want to. We wanted to look at it in a different lens, in a different side of the coin, and see why no one has stepped in front of it behind a camera and says, "This is what we're doing for Carl." And Carl was such an influential person and had so many relationships globally, even nationally here in the United States, that no one really stepped up and broadcasted that, yo, we're here for you, Carl. But yet you would go on these Google searches and you'll see, tabloids about Carl Lentz and his infidelity and him being fired by Hillsong. And then you have statements by Brian Houston saying why they made that decision, et cetera, et cetera. But then after the dust settled and the storm was over and there was a post-life, because Carl's life has to continue.
He's not dead.
He's not dead. Nobody stepped forward behind a camera and said, in support of him, like, here, we're here for you, bro. We're praying for your family. We're doing this for you. We'll be willing to pay for counseling if you need it.
Well, not that we've heard of.
But what I'm saying is, how come his bashing was so public, but his encouragement and his supporting wasn't? And that's kind of like what rubs me the wrong way a little bit, and that's why I get a little bit aggravated with the church, because the church is so quick to judge, because by nature we're judgmental to a certain degree. So yeah, we're quick to judge, but we're not so quick to encourage, to uplift, to counsel.
Amen, yeah.
And because of this whole cancel culture thing, we're quick to cancel people than to counsel. Like, why don't we have more of a counsel culture now? Because I feel like the cancel culture nowadays is destroying people that are just getting caught in the crossfires of things that had nothing to do with what happened in a singular moment or an isolated incident. You know what I'm saying? And it's not fair.
It's a heated herd mentality. It's
absolutely.
Everyone's just jumping on
and
the
it's
bandwagon.
turning people off.
Yes.
There's a lot more people walking away from the church.
A heck of a lot more people walking away from
The agnostics and the atheists are up. It's up on a wave of a rise. There's a rise of that community.
There's another group. They're called the Nuns. Not like,
not the nun.
Not the
from Sister Act.
A nun. Okay, not Sister Act.
Shout out to Whoopi Goldberg.
Those are great movies.
I know.
But like they're called the Nuns because there's a group of people that they have immediate distrust of anything organized.
Right.
Anyone, like, they themselves may actually have some pretty good faith, but they have a complete distrust of any type of organized religion, any type of you'll never see these people, because like they were the people that are lost in the weeds.
Yeah.
Right. Because churches really, because I'm not saying churches. Okay. Sorry. I want to back up and fix my statement, because I don't want people going, you just hate the church. No, that's not what I'm saying. Here's what I am saying. I'm saying, unfortunately, there is a perpetuating thought process from the church that it's an us versus them mentality.
Right.
It's either you are them or you are us.
Right.
And then there is no middle ground. Now, in some ways, for you to become in this culture, to become not just in the culture, to become part of the way I heard one pastor talk about it. He's like, look, everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome. I don't care where you're from, what you've done, whatever. Everyone is welcome. Yeah. He goes, but if you want to have a voice of how things are done here, you need to be a family member. Yeah. Okay. Because if you're a family member, that attributes you some benefits, where you have a voice to say, like, where we spend the money this year or what we do this. But with that benefit, there are some rules attached to it. Unfortunately, a lot of those rules for a lot of churches involves more so. I don't want to just immediately jump to like the giving, because that's not always true, and I'm not gonna just put that over every church. But like, there are some rules. It's like, hey, like, you need to be active in the church. Like,
you need to serve.
Do you serve? Do you at least show your face at least once a year? Because sometimes people move away, but it's like they're still part of that church. At least from a distance, because now we have everyone does online. Yeah, everyone does online.
Yeah, seriously.
What we're doing right now.
Yeah,
that counts as online.
Yeah,
anyone who saw that was super weird. But there are those rules. But unfortunately, there are churches that those rules kind of fall more into. You need to look, see, feel, think how we do. And if you kind of are on the edge of that, we don't really care for what you do or say. Yeah. And that's what is starting to create, and that type of mentality is creating those nuns. Yeah. The people in between kind of going like, well, we don't really identify with this or this. Yeah. And we don't want to go either this way or this way. So we're just not going to go to church. Yeah, we're just not going to.
And then you have the other side of that coin is the atheists that choose not to believe that there is the existence of a God, that they don't believe that there's a creator, they don't believe in a God, they don't subscribe in the belief system that there is a God. They don't subscribe to that ideology. And I remember a couple years ago, I had a conversation with an atheist that was like, he didn't have any type of malice. He was actually a pretty nice guy. And he just, he just stood firm in what he believed. And me as a Christian, I just had to show him grace and love as much as I wanted to be like, what are you talking about? Are you serious? But like, as much as my human nature wanted to do that, I just wanted to just love on him and continue to have conversations with him. And so we had like this weird kinship where we would talk about everyday stuff, current event stuff, and then we would talk about faith, because he would always inquire as to how I'm doing at church and what's going on in your church, and you're still mystified, because you used to tell me that if I was still mystified, that I still believe in the folk stories of that book you call.
All you see is unicorns and rainbows.
In that book that you call a Bible. Okay, and he used to like play poke at me in that regard. And I remember one time I was kind of getting to, I don't remember the context of the conversation, but it was a conversation about me and how I came to faith, right? And he was just like a little bit flustered, and I could tell he was getting a little frustrated trying to listen and stuff, because I guess he thought that I was trying to convince him that he would have to have an encounter just like I did, and I was just sharing my story. So I guess he was kind of taking it that way, and then he just stopped me like flat out, and he wasn't disrespectful at all. He was just like, whoa. He was like, wait, hold on a second. He's like, you prove to me and show me all signs that Jesus is real and that God is real. And then I stepped back and I was like, whoa. Why are you putting me on trial? Why don't you prove to me and show me evidence that there's no God? And he just stood there and he was like, I just don't subscribe to that. And that was his answer. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but we could still keep talking. You could still be my friend. And if you want to ask more questions, you can ask more questions. And even when I didn't have that mentality where it was my thing to get uncomfortable about certain things and getting comfortable being uncomfortable, even back then I was just like inclined to have these uncomfortable conversations with an atheist, because I was like, wow, I just find it fascinating that you have so much faith that there was nothing before there was something. That takes more faith than what I believe in. And he looked at me funny. He was like, oh, I never looked at it that way. And I'm like, yeah, you're literally like, your faith is different than my faith. You believe so strong that there is no God, that we weren't created out of nothing, that when we die, we're just dirt for the worms to eat our brains, and that's it, and then we're gone. And so he was like, yeah, but I just don't subscribe into that ideology. And I'm like, okay, so you stand on that, and that's cool. But we can still keep talking. Yeah. And I lost touch with him, and I don't know where that young man ended up. I hope that he is well, and I hope that he continued to search, because in everything that I learned from, having this friendship with him, even though it was short-lived, the thing that I learned is that he was still a nice guy. He meant well. He put in his hours because he did a lot of serving the homeless. So he put in his hours, and he was about doing good deeds, and he was genuinely a good guy, right? One thing I did take away, aside from all that, is that he was searching. And I believe that when you search, Jesus has a funny way of finding you, or you finding him.
I do believe in the Bible it says, seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door shall be open to you.
Yeah. And I do wholly, and maybe he wasn't in his subconscious. I don't know, because I'm not in his head, but I don't think that he was actively searching for Jesus, but he was definitely searching.
Yes.
He was definitely searching. All it takes is for an inquiring mind to search and possibly find God.
Well, I actually was having a conversation with somebody today over text message, and because I text this person something, because I was thinking about the podcast tonight. It's like, we're going to talk about this, and I was thinking about a couple things, So I texted somebody. I was like, "Hey, does this make sense?"
Mm-hmm.
And they responded back, "Oh yeah, that's really good. Amen." And then they came back with, I'm just gonna quote it. Let's see if I have it. I won't quote it directly because I don't want to reveal a couple things about this person, but God has a consistent revelation of himself, and so that no matter what's happening on what's happening around us, what's happening with us, what's happening to us, that we can still find God. No matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what. We used to find, because even in the losing battles, spiritual, physical, whatever it may be, like, God reveals himself.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you can find, like, I mean, it's so interesting and just amazing that it's like, even in the darkest moments, you will find God.
Yeah.
You will find God. Because, again, like, in a way, because we are his imagers, because we carry his image, that, that we may not be in the spiritual realm, but like we being here physically, it's like when we go into the world, it's like we ourselves are his imagers. We are carrying the purpose. We are carrying, like, the reason the universe was created with us anywhere we go, just by simply existing.
Yeah, we got to carry his light. Absolutely. And sometimes we tend to, instead of carrying his light and being the light, and being the vessel that he created us to be, we start carrying other things, like baggage, like burdens that we have no business carrying. And those things that we have no business carrying, like burdens, like baggage, like resentment, like all these things that we carry, that actually hinders us from doing what God called us to do. Like, the Great Commission is
Here we go.
to,
Are you ready? This is actually what I wrote down. This is what I wrote down just for tonight. So when Jesus was here on earth, right? Like, Jesus is the culmination, right? Like, he fulfilled so many prophecies. What he came to do started something that no one has ever seen, right? Jesus was the culmination of thousands of years of God's planning, of human history, all wrapped up into one man. Guess what? Jesus was the culmination, but we are the continuation of what he started.
Yeah.
Because yes, it culminated in him, but we are continuing.
That's the Great Commission, if I'm not mistaken.
That is.
And we fail to realize those things sometimes because we get caught up in culture. And we
lose the nuances of, kind of going back to like what we were saying earlier about like why like the Bible is all about grace, is all about love, it's all about unity, but it's like, but we won't extend that to the people who, we kind of put our trust in. Like, obviously any human is going to fail. Right, yeah. Right? Like, all these pastors and whatever. Yeah. Not saying every pastor is going to do that. I know some amazing pastors. Yeah. They're awesome.
And even them, they're imperfect. They're
imperfect too. And like all my favorite pastors are the ones that go like, yo, I'm jacked up. Yeah. I'm the ones that I will fail you. Mess up. Do not look at me in any other way than just any other person.
Yeah. Because they know that they're imperfect, that they will fail. They will say something that will rub you the wrong way. They will convey a certain thing that will probably make you irk a little bit.
You will disagree with it.
Yeah, you will disagree. There will be disagreement. But in that disagreement, there should still be grace and love. Yeah. Absolutely, 100%.
So so that's why I kind of found myself, not just this past week, but like, kind of the past few weeks, as a lot of these stories about, Hillsong and Christianity Today, like all this stuff that was coming out, I just couldn't help but just think of just like, I was like, man, like, right now, like, it's such a tumultuous time to be in the church. Yeah. Like, I mean, I actually had someone reach out to me and it's like, yo, he was like, yo, you saw this, right? I'm like, of course I saw it. Yeah. It's me. Yeah. Of course I saw it. And he was like, well, what do you think on it? And I'm just like, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I'm not surprised. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm actually hopeful. And he was like, I don't understand. What do you mean hopeful?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you can't, it's like, because me and him kind of share a little bit, some similarities in our stories.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean you're hopeful? I was like, bro, I'm hopeful that because no matter what happens, like, God's got it. And then not to just throw this up, but like, God's got this.
Yeah.
Not to just like kind of, it's like, oh, just let go, let God. Okay, I don't like cliches.
Yeah.
I do not like cliches. But it doesn't, like, it's so funny. It's like, this is such a short term, and yes, there's a lot of hurt, and there's even more work to be done.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely, 100%, absolutely.
Especially when you hear of people walking away from the church.
Oh yeah, it's from these type of events.
I already know 3 people, and it's sad to say, and I will never reveal their names, but I know 3 solid dudes right now, bro. You know one of them.
Yes.
Seattle. You went to see.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, but I know 3, dude. I know 3 since that conversation that we had about the guy that you went to Seattle with. And that guy is even still walking away.
And here's the thing. In a way, I don't blame him.
And I know 2 other dudes. And I just had a conversation with another guy. Because, he saw me doing, the whole podcast thing. And he's like, dude, what is this podcast about? Is it a Christian thing? But he put LOL because he doesn't want to.
You had to put LOL.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to identify as a Christian anymore. But that's a whole different conversation for a different time. But he was reaching out to me, dude, and he was like, I was like, yeah, I don't want to put it in a box that it's a Christian show, but yes, do I?
We explore Christian themes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we do. We talk about Christian themes. We like to talk about current events and what's going on in pop culture. Yeah, sure. But I do express the fact that I do follow Jesus. I do identify as a Christian, and we do cover a lot of topics that are Christian based. Yeah, absolutely. And he was like, you know what, bro? I admire that. He's like, I admire that, dude. I like, and he goes, I wish that I could get there, but I don't see myself there. I just so burnt out. He's literally burnt out, bro.
Yeah.
And he went through 2 big churches
Mm-hmm.
in South Florida, one in Palm Beach County and one that's in Broward. And
I want to ask the name of this person. I think I might know this person.
And he was like,
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, and he was like, bro, I'm done with church, bro. Like, I'm even done with the whole aspect of like religion. Like, I just know that I don't need to go to church to have a. He went on this whole spiel about I have my personal relationship with God, and I don't need a church to convey that to anyone. I'm just gonna live my life
on
unbothered.
some level. He's not.
I told him that.
On some, here's the thing, and this is something, and I was, oh my gosh, the amount of conversations I've had these past 2 weeks about involving church and faith. Look, I don't say go to church. Just get in church and gives them your money.
Tithe,
No.
It's always
I'm
a tithe.
telling you to go to church.
It's always the tithe, bro.
Look. Here's the thing. I've been studying the Bible, and I even told someone very close to me the other day, someone who I told you about earlier. Mm-hmm. I told this person, I plan on studying and teaching the Bible for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Hands down, and I will always have so much to learn. I need to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who knows me is like, yo, I am very heavy into the Bible, academia, I'm reading up, like anyone who knows me, I'm still going to church, but in a weird way, in a strange way, actually helped me with church hurt.
Mm-hmm.
First off, I had to forgive other people. I also had, in a way, forgive myself. And I'm gonna come back to that redemptive story.
Yeah.
But I was having this conversation with somebody, and I actually oh my gosh, it's hard for me to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Because I don't like sharing this, because I know there's tons of people who could try to tear me down and all this other stuff, but especially when it comes to church hurt people, I've been trying to teach people, look, separate, like, and this, and I think this is why people have so much church hurt, is they can't separate their church from their faith. And here's the thing, we still need the church 100%. I want you to look at me. We still need the church. The church is still needed, right?
Yeah.
Like, can the church improve? Absolutely. It's the consistent struggle of the church. Like, how do we stay relevant? All this other stuff. We don't need to get into that tonight.
Yeah.
But I had to disassociate my faith from the church. Oh, I'm sorry. An organized individual church.
Yeah.
I should not disassociate myself and my faith from what is known as the Big C church.
Right.
Right? Because even when I was like at the time where I was I was super anti-church. I was in the middle of deconstruction, all this other stuff, like a very, very not good place.
Yeah.
Like, I still had some good people around me. And because I had those good people around me, I know for a fact they helped pull me out of that church hurt, where it's like it helped me reform not necessarily just my faith, but my understanding of what the church really is.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like the church is this name church here.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's separated by travels. And so going back to that, it was like, because I felt like God, like Christ was redeeming me while I was going through that church hurt. And then I was listening to a podcast recently about a church that fell, that was very big. I'm not going to say the name of the church, but a lot of people know what I'm talking about. And there was at the final episode, and I was listening to it, and they were talking about all the church hurt that came, right? Because there were still people to this day around this church that, like, I mean, we're almost, we're like 10 years, almost 10 some years removed from it, and there are still people who are still hurt by this church. Like, they are still having interactions that just like, they have PTSD, where like an interaction with someone from like that past. Yeah. They don't have to speak to them. This person will go home crying, shaking, like they went through war. Yeah. I mean, like some terrible things. And I just remember sitting myself and I just felt God kind of stir my heart. I'm like, what type of hurt have I done? What hurt have I as an individual, as Tyler Wyman, hurt other people? So I grabbed my phone. And I went through it, and there's a lot of numbers that I don't have anymore. Yeah. Like I threw away a lot of numbers. I deleted a lot of numbers when I left certain places. Yeah. But I was able to find some numbers, and I reached out to a bunch of people. I was like, hey, how's it going? Like, I know you may not have my number anymore. You may have a different number, whatever. But like, I just feel like I need to talk to you, whatever. I think I reached out to 10 people. And of those 10, I didn't get text back from like 4 of them. 2 of them kind of was like, oh, hi. Kind of like the conversation started, then just died. Yeah. And I tried to start again, just put it up, right? I was able to talk on the phone with 3 of them. 4 of them. I only say 3 because one of them was just like, dude, I totally forgot you existed. Wow. And I was like, okay, God, way to help me real quick. But another one, but 2 of them were like, yeah, like, it's really funny because like one of those 2, I put them both together because they both were like, hey, look, we kind of understand what you were doing, where you were coming from. We knew you weren't fully this, so like we kind of like, we forgive you. Yeah. We forgive you for like kind of like the things that you said or did or whatever. And so we're glad that you're. We're glad like this sexual code. And then the last person was someone I did not realize how bad it hurt this person. Wow. Right? Like I wasn't like, oh, like abusive or anything like that. But like there was things that I said, and because of the culture I was in, right, I found myself doing and saying things that not to say that I didn't necessarily believe, because at the time I did. Yeah. At the time I did. And this person was just like, yeah, you really like hurt me, and it was like, and this person, I'm trying not to say names. This person was like, you you wouldn't believe that like you like just like the whole situation popped into my brain like a week and a half ago, randomly. I haven't thought about it in years.
Yeah.
And now you're reaching out to me. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And so we got to talking, and basically, you know, this person said like you really hurt me with your words and what you were doing and what you were standing for and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like, look, you know, maybe this is God asking, you know, seeking for healing, but like, you know, I hadn't forgiven everybody about that situation or about, you know, about this, and like, you know, they were like, it still hurts. It still hurts. I said, but I forgive you. And it like you want to talk about being humbled real quick, like that's not humiliation. Humiliation is different. Like like this is a sit down, shut up, and God's like, sit down, shut up, and let me do my work. I just kind of sit there and I'm just like, God, why do you want to use me for anything in ministry? Because I don't deserve it.
Yeah.
I don't deserve it. Why am I here? Like, why do you, like, as your image or as your representation here on earth, like, I have fallen and listened to the evil side. I have lived in those, like I've done some terrible things. Why do you want me to do this? Yeah. And sometimes, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, there are times I still wrestle with that question.
Me too. And
so for anyone out, but like that's the one thing, for anyone out there who's wrestling with it, it's like, look, you know, sometimes that is the reason.
That is the reason.
But I also would say, for anyone with like church hurt, I mean, look, like forgiveness starts when you let it. Yeah. You have to let it begin. Yeah. And you have to forgive yourself.
First, yeah.
Because when I heard this person's story about what I said and what I did,
yeah, you were like, wow.
A whole different perspective.
Yeah.
And I was crying. I was just like, I am so sorry. Like, like I was hateful towards myself. Yeah. And I had to forgive myself. Yeah. But like that was even more free. Yeah. Right? Like that's why when people ask me that, I was like, oh, how's your faith? I'm like, oh, it's never been stronger. Yeah. Because I've been through it.
Yeah. And God has a way to showing you that. Like through pain, through trials and tribulations, through some type of conflict, and it's just the way He works. And sometimes you have to have those conversations to see Jesus in that, and to see Him glorified in that. And so, whenever you get caught in a rift with someone, I always, and as you know, like I had my fair share of conflicts and jabs from the church, and I came to you with certain things, and I was pissed off. Yeah? Well, I was pissed off, and
I became mad with you.
Yeah, and then I'm just like, you know what though?
I was like, who is it? I'm going to fight him.
Yeah,
no, I didn't say that.
I was like, you know what though? God bless that person, man.
He did. I will say for the record, he absolutely.
That person must be going through a lot of hurt, a lot of pain that was caused probably not even by me. And he's just full of resentment, full of some type of
whoever
pain.
It may be.
He or she, maybe. Because that person was anonymous.
We still don't know.
Yeah, it was a cyberbully, guys. So for you guys that are being cyberbullied, I feel you. I feel you. But no, I think prayer obviously was needed, and discernment was obviously needed to be practiced. And coming to you with that kind of stuff was pretty heavy, but you were able to hear me out and listen to my heart and see and you kind of just wanted to see where I was at with it. But I was frustrated and I was angry and I was mad at the church. But then I'm like, who am I to be mad at the church? Because I'm also imperfect, and I also done some stuff with ministry, with my previous church, and I've rubbed people the wrong way, and people saw me in a different light, and people still see me in that light, and some people just don't believe that people grow, and that there's growth, and that there's a redemption story to be told. A lot of people just want to pin you of this image that you were, and forget that there's redemption after that.
Because I was like, well, I would think like that becomes more of a face and a oh my gosh, what's the word?
Come on, you're getting stumped.
brand.
Right. That's a good
It's
word.
like your face is more of a brand than it is actually an individual, a person, a living, breathing human, an imager of God. Like we seem to disassociate the two from each other.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, in some way, kind of becoming more of that like brand, or like something that's not like, because yes, we as Christians are to be set apart, but when we, how do I want to say this? It's like when we set ourselves above, not apart, that's where things happen, and then that's not the full image of God.
Yeah, absolutely. We just gotta be us as a church, and I say us because I'm including.
We have to include ourselves in
it. We got to include ourselves in it.
must.
Like us as a church, we have to do a better job with understanding people's hurt. And I think both parties need to educate one another, like the person who did the hurt and the person who got hurt. And in that place, I believe when you put a God in front of that, I believe that there will be a sense of reconciliation, if not reconciliation in that moment. But even if it's not in that moment that you can reconcile with that person, at least there's an understanding, and at least you're planting a seed of reconcile. Like, at least you're planting that seed, and maybe that seed will blossom in your lifetime, or
maybe it won't.
And maybe it won't, but at least you planted that seed, man, and it'll flourish to something bigger than you. And so whoever is out there that ran away from church, that doesn't see himself coming back to a church, getting involved with dealing with people because you just don't want to deal with people in the church because they burnt you, give it a second thought. I dare you to give it a second thought, because I know that you're searching somewhere and searching something, and you still have this inquiring mind about, man, where would I be if I had resources, or where would I be if I was still doing life with this person? How God sees it, how it sees me or my situation. And I know that you're still searching, and what I could suggest and encourage you to do is never stop searching. Even if you feel that you don't want to believe anymore, that it's easier to just be an atheist, or it's easier to just be a universalistic person and believe in the universe and all this other stuff. It's easier for you to do that, but what I would encourage you to not do and not stop doing is search, because you will find the answer. And I can almost, God
will reveal the answer.
And I'm not even gonna say I'm gonna almost guarantee it. I'm gonna guarantee it, or your money back, bro.
Amen.
That you will find God, and God will reveal Himself to you, and you'll have a real encounter with your Lord. And that's kind of what I wanted to say about that.
Let's almost let's talk about it this way, where it's like, why would you gamble with your eternal soul? Then put everything towards that.
The scary part is people are out there gambling.
I know.
They're out there gambling, bro.
Listen.
And some of these people are proud. Like, yo, I don't believe in that, man. Like, the universe, all I gotta do is just... And manifestation is becoming such a thing now for the millennials. And it's like, I just want to speak it into existence.
Okay, yes. There is a power of positive thinking.
Yeah.
However...
Right. Manifestation, bro, is.
However, where manifestation, that's really putting humankind in control, in putting us in the seat or us in the throne, and removing God and taking away His power.
And people are actively doing that.
Yes,
which is a scary thing. I see it on social media, bro. I'm reading these news feeds, and I'm seeing people post things, bro. I pay attention, guys. I pay attention. And they're very bold about that. And so it's like, it reminds me of, I'm like, yo, we as Christians have work to do. We have to get out there, strap on our boots, and have dialogue with people, man. And just share your faith. Share your faith, share your story. Your story is your biggest tool. Your story is your biggest weapon. to combat those things and to actually navigate through those uncomfortable conversations. Because it's easy for us to just chill and not poke at that and not try to like navigate through that conversation with that atheist, with that recovering agnostic person, with the person who's dealing with church hurt. It's easy to just avoid those conversations. But I don't think that's what God wants us to do. No. And we got to counter that and say, you know what? Let me separate my internal biases and put that aside for a moment and look deep into his soul and have a conversation with him, because souls are at stake. And what I do is I put an image in my head of a burning house. And there's people in there that are trapped, and I'm outside of that house where I got to go run in that house and help people from that burning house. And that's how I see it when I'm talking to non-believers and these so-called self-proclaimed agnostics and universalistic people and atheists. Like, I see them in that house burning, and I want to have conversation with them to drag them out of that house before they burn to death. That's the image I have in my head, and it'll never ever go away.
And that's a good mentality to have. You know, because I mean, here's the thing: people come out of the house burned, and we need to be able to, and we need to be there and be ready to help take care of them. And to be honest, I think that's what the church is struggling the most with. Because like we're all ready to go we're ready to jump into the fire, but what about how are we gonna take care of them afterwards? Yeah. How are we gonna? But that's also like, because we have to understand that like there are bigger influences out there. Influence, like, you know, like we were saying earlier, like the realms, like the physical realm, like we're just talking about our soul, right? Yeah. Our soul's not going to be bound to these bodies to this forever. You know, it's not. And so you have to acknowledge the realm these realms that God has created, that He overrules them all, and then they work in tandem with each other, but they also influence each other. So yeah, you know, sometimes there are times where the attacks of the enemy are real. Yeah. In that way, just crack. If you picked up on the sound, that really hurt.
Was that your knee, dude?
That was my ankle, bro. That was my ankle.
I thought that was your knee, bro.
Oh no, if my knee, everyone would have heard that one. Yeah. Sorry, what was I? Oh yeah, and so we like being careful when we're out there, because it's like, yeah, we should be aware of these things. We should be aware of that.
Look, because the Bible clearly states that. It's like we're not battling flesh and bone.
Yes, absolutely.
We're battling the princes of darkness and principalities and all these dark, evil beings that exist in the darkness somewhere, that are coming from the pits of hell or wherever they're coming from. But we are battling in that realm, and it's we have to stand guard and strap up and be prepared for that battle.
Put in the armor of God, but more importantly, just stand on the rock of His word, and know that, like, you know what, like, who was it? Someone was saying something recently. Well, basically it was like, oh, if you don't feel the attack of the devil, you ain't doing enough. Right. If the devil's not attacking you,
he's your favorite. He's like, I got him.
I like him.
Don't
touch him. Like, he let him burn himself.
Yeah, I like him.
And let him destroy the people around him.
Yeah, he's not doing anything for the kingdom. He's not doing anything for this Jesus guy that I hate so much. So I'll leave that guy alone. He's cool. But once you start doing things for the kingdom, once you start progressively getting to a place where
when you were experiencing all that attack, what was the one thing I told you?
Yeah.
What was the one thing? Do you remember?
Take it as a compliment.
Take it as a compliment.
Take it as a compliment.
Because
I remember
you're doing something right.
Yeah. And it's whenever you're doing something right and doing something for the kingdom is where you get attacked the most. And like it's funny how the world works too, and how these evil beings will attack you. Is that these evil spirits will come in a way where it's disguised as something that looks like gold, but it's counterfeit.
Mm-hmm.
And you think it's from God and it's not, and you're jumping at it, and then you bounce off of it and you fall and you crash and burn, and then you're asking God, why God? And it's because you're not moving according to His will, and maybe you're not in the same accord with the Lord's heart. So that's why you have to always reassess and come to the Lord and say, God, I just want to come to you as a broken
Amen.
vessel and say, whatever it is that is not of you, that's in me, that I'm holding on to, rip it away from me, please. Just detach me from that. I just want to be under your will. And that's a hard prayer to come to, or to even get to that place in real time, when things are happening in real time. Because when things are happening in real time, whether you're being fired from a job, or you are no longer making the same income, or a tragedy happened, or whatever is going on, whatever chaos you're in, whatever wars you're waging, just know that God is there. You just have to welcome Him in to wage war with. And sometimes we like to go on these wars naked by ourselves without the proper equipment to battle these things, and we're going to fail. And when we don't whenever we don't add Jesus in the equation, you're going to get the math wrong. You're going to get the math wrong, and you're going to fail. So I just encourage you guys to definitely, have conversations, seek counsel, and for those to, not cancel people. Canceling people is not the answer, bro. Canceling a church isn't the answer. Canceling your friends isn't the answer.
You can't cancel Jesus, though.
Yeah, and canceling your pastor isn't the answer neither, man. And like you said, you can't cancel Jesus. That's someone that's going to withstand
His words have withstand the test of time, and we will be nothing but dust in a few years' time.
Hey.
Yo, someone put that into a rap. Just kidding. Don't use that. Please don't use that. Can we cut that from...
Yo, that's a bar right there, bro.
No, please cut that from the podcast.
Bar.
That didn't happen.
Jeez. Oh my gosh.
But... So it actually like kind of all of this kind of wrapped up, like you're like, because I was reading back in the Old Testament, and we are, like I said earlier, we're God's imagers, right?
Yeah.
He created us to work in tandem with his, with His armies in the unseen realm, that we will take both grounds together.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make it something super long, very short. I'm going to do my best.
Okay.
But the Tower of Babel, right? You had, because many people have many different interpretations on it, but basically, the one thing about the Tower of Babel is we want to be greater than God. We want to build a tower, and not just we want to build a tower to God. What they were representing by doing so was more about that we are going to topple God, and God just goes,
yeah,
that's not how this works,
right?
I told you I was the God of gods, the King of kings, the Lord of lords. You're trying to not just dethrone me.
Yeah.
You're trying to make yourself the Most High.
Yeah.
That's not how this works.
Yeah.
At all. And here's the thing, it's there's many scholars who kind of discuss how it kind of transpired, but basically it really started with a few people, and just the idea just caught fire. It's let's be better than God. Do you know where the original thought came from? Oh, just the serpent
in the Garden
of Eden.
Yeah. Right?
So fast forward back to the Tower of Babel, right? God goes, okay, no. I'm going to banish all of you. I'm going to banish you all, and I'm going to let you be ruled by these other gods. And you have to go to these other lands.
Yeah.
Be gone.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a new covenant with my people. So that's where we get that's where we get the whole Jewish tribes.
Yeah.
All the Jewish tribes, right? And let's fast forward as we go through all of the story of Israel. Very fun. We don't have time to go through all that tonight at all. But we get to Jesus, like I said earlier, Jesus is the culmination of it all.
Yeah.
Right? Physical, spiritual, every need met, everything completed in him.
Yeah.
Completed in him. He brought, and what he did and what the church continued to do. It's like Jesus brought it all to a head, the culmination. Jesus started the bringing back of the people, right? Because when God banished the tribes and banished everyone away except for his one covenant, he said he set up a plan to work in the unseen realms and the physical realm, to work in tandem, and both of them collided in Christ. Yeah. And Jesus set the motion of, hey, go and make disciples of all nations, basically saying, hey, go out and rescue those that were once lost, that were made lost. Yeah. It is now our job and our mission to bring those lost tribes home, to bring them back, to bring them back into the fold, back into the family. Yeah. And like I said, we are the continuation. Yeah. Right? Now, how we do it, listen, our Christians been bickering since the very beginning. Yeah. Read the book of Acts and you'll see how much certain disciples hated each other. Yeah. For certain things. But they were still united around the fact that, we are still doing this for one common purpose.
For one common purpose, bro.
And they realize that they are the ones that's supposed to go out and save the nations, be able to ones that they knew they had a fire lit in them like no other.
Team Yahweh, bro. Team Yahweh.
Or Yeshua.
Yeshua.
Which, by the way, that's Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. It was always Team Yahweh, man.
But to have these tribes come back, it's like, that's a redemptive story. Yeah. And we still, like I said, we still forget that. Yeah. And we can still help people get to their redemptive story. Yes. Because there's a lot of people who are still in need of redemption. And who has two thumbs. Yeah. And let's just be the light, guys. Let's be the light. Let's encourage one another. Let's uplift each other. Let's not call each other out, but call each other up, as I always say. And be the light, guys. Any last thoughts, my friend, before we go? Too many thoughts, right? Too many thoughts. It's to be in my mind is it's not exactly.
You don't want to hold real estate in your brain right now,
bro. There's times I'm just like, can you just shut up?
Well, that's what happens, man.
But I consider it a blessing. But I would say this. I want to kind of touch back on the church hurt real quick. If you are still feeling that, don't stay silent. Yeah, speak up. But speak up, but speak in a way of like, I feel hurt. Yeah. Yes. Because here's the thing, you need to admit, because like that was one of my issues, was I didn't admit that. I was like, I wasn't hurt. I was just anti.
Because some people just turn anti, and then while they're anti, they run away. They're running away. And instead of speaking up and say, yo, I'm hurt. Hey, I need to talk to someone because your church hurt me. Who do I need to talk to? Let's just get there.
Or just, honestly, just find fellow, because like that's the one thing is I was just even talking to somebody the other day. It's like they were like, oh, my faith feels stale, and I'm like, okay, what are you doing about it? Are you searching? Yeah. Are you like? It's like, look, because that's the one thing they were like, I do not want to go back to church right now. And I said, and I literally told them, okay, but make sure you find a group of believers. Because yes, church is highly important. I will say it again, church is important.
Yes, it is.
If anyone ever said I don't believe in church, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. But I was like, you need to find yourself a group of believers.
Yes, find yourself. All you need is a solid 2 people. Okay.
I would say 4.
But if you can't find 4, you need 2 solid people, man.
At least 2 very
solid people, because that's doable. I believe that you guys can go out there and talk to 2 solid dudes or gals and start talking about your experience, and they'll help you. If they're the right person, They'll lift you up. They'll take you
But
under their
also,
wing.
don't just go and talk about validation.
Yeah.
Don't feel like, oh man, I just want someone to validate my things. No, your feelings of hurt are real.
Yeah,
yes, 100%.
100%.
But don't go be like, oh, I just want you to agree with everything I said. It's gonna be like, yo, like,
I'm hurt. There's some type of disagreement. Let's talk about it.
let's talk
Boom.
it out. But Jesus himself went through that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He was persecuted. He was spat on. He was beaten. He had to carry a cross that weighed tons.
I'm not gonna get into it because
Yeah.
I don't know when anyone's eating this, but I don't want anyone to lose their lunch. Yo,
So,
that was good.
But anyway, this was fun, man. I love having these conversations, as you already know.
Really?
Love it. Love having these conversations, these deep dives that we do. We start unpacking things. That's what we do out here at Kingdom Talks. But for those that are tuning in, thank you again for listening for the last hour and 20 some odd minutes.
No,
I
my
appreciate
question
you.
is why?
I
You listened for an hour and
appreciate
20
you.
minutes.
I love you for that, and I appreciate you. And I know some of you watch it in 3 segments. He's like, yo, I watch it 20 minutes at a time. And I'm like, hey, however you're digesting it, I am grateful and I am thankful, and I love you for that. But this was episode 34. As we wrap up, as always, guys, check me out on all digital platforms. On Instagram, I'll leave the links on the description. Please share and comment. I love you guys. I'll see you next week. We'll talk more great stuff, culture, church, faith. You already know what time it is. Love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.